Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Beware the Board, a horror podcast where we watch a randomly selected horror movie every single week. I'm Bob.
And I'm Ben.
Hey, Ben.
Hello. How
Wow.
are you?
Oh, I'm okay, I guess.
That's good.
I mean, I'm tired, but that's normal at this point in my life.
I'm very tired.
Yeah, no, I know. You literally, we were supposed to record earlier, and you called me and said, hey, I'm going to take a nap. Come by later.
I don't think I took a nap.
I don't think you did either.
I think I just laid down and shut my eyes for 2 hours.
That's a nap.
I didn't fall asleep.
You don't need to sleep to nap.
Yes, you do.
Napping is just resting, and you are resting.
It sure doesn't feel like it, but whatever.
Okay. Oh my god. Do you have anything you want to talk about before I get to the news?
Terrifier 3 comes out on October 11th. Check it out.
So true.
It's one of the only movies to be banned for underage people in France.
That was on my news.
Saw
3. I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at the article.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll start with that, I guess. Terrifier 3 is apparently fucking disgusting, which, I think we all expected
Cheers.
that. Yeah, exactly. I'm excited.
So we've talked about going to see it in person, right?
Yeah.
Can we bring your girlfriend?
She would not make it. She would probably pass out.
We'll get like a popcorn bucket and dump it out and then give it to her.
No, dog, I'm telling you, she will not. I don't even know if she could watch the first one. And the first one, in comparison to the second one, is nothing.
And we gotta have to show her all of them so she has context, because context is very important in that franchise.
Absolutely. Well, because you got to see the escalation, bro. You
yeah,
got to see,
obviously.
the escalation from sawing a woman in half to skinning a woman alive and throwing salt in her like a snail. Anyway, Terrifier 3 is apparently really gross. No, we're not taking my girlfriend. Because, look, Terrifier 2 almost made me pass out. And I can handle some of this shit. There's no way. She would die. And I don't think she'd forgive me either. I think that may make us break up. So, we're not going to do that. But I was trying to find, there was an article where people were talking about it in the UK. Apparently it was something like 9 people walked out, and apparently like 3 of them like vomited or something. It basically, it's the worst one yet. And apparently the opening sequence is just like really, really, really rough.
People are sensitive.
People are babies and can't handle cool things.
I hope you throw up.
Oh,
I hope.
if I throw up and I just said that, I'm cutting that. That's not going in the episode.
You're gonna have to release this by the time we go and watch that.
I'll retroactively re-upload the episode with that cut, with redacted. No, I'm really excited. I hope that we can find some way to view it in theaters because I really want to.
Don't worry, I'll go watch it in theaters.
Fuck you, Ben. I want to go.
You can come.
Yeah. Okay, so here's my thought, and now I'm just like
Spitballing
on the podcast, spitting live. We should record an episode for that. And like we crossed 100 recently, we can just like throw it up retroactively and be like, hey, for 100 episodes, we're gonna go watch this movie in theaters and give you like a live review of the movie.
Live review in the movie theater. We're gonna bring the mixer,
Nope.
my laptop,
Nope. Not doing that.
the mics.
We're not animals, Ben. Well, we are animals, but we're not those kinds of animals that just like be loud as fuck in a movie theater. Those people make me so mad, by the way. People who are like really loud in movie theaters. Crazy.
It's okay if you go to like a midnight showing. There's no one there.
Yeah, that's fair. Like if you're just there with your friends and you're like goofing around, but like this is a full theater and you're just like hooting and hollering. Chill.
It does suck.
Like you're ruining our movie experience. Anyway, we should try to see Terrifier 3 in theaters and record an episode.
Well, yeah, I was gonna go before the convention.
I mean, it comes out the 11th.
Yeah.
Which is... Are we really going to add more things to record before the convention?
We don't have to record an episode. We could just talk about it.
It would be a disservice to not record an episode.
And then we can do an episode on it eventually.
Yeah, but we did the first 2. Our like pilot is Terrifier. Our 50th special is Terrifier 2.
It's fine. We'll figure it out eventually.
I'm pushing hard for the Terrifier 3 special, okay? Let me put it that way. So that was my first piece of news. Terrifier 3 is gross. It looks cool. I'm excited to watch it. All the people in it are really sweet. Like, they're really cool people. We met them at the last convention. I don't know if they're going to be there again this year. I don't think so, right?
I don't think as many.
Yeah. But they were really cool. Especially the dude that plays Art. David Howard Thornton, super nice guy.
Yeah, he was.
He was like, he plays like a really fucked up clown. The nicest person you'll ever meet in your life. More movie news. So, it's October. It's Halloween time. Not Halloween Town, the Disney movie, Halloween time. And a lot of classic horror movies, they do like specials where they'll show like, old movies in theaters and stuff like that. Halloween plus Halloween 4 and Halloween 5, for some fucking reason, not the good ones, are coming back to theaters this month.
Whoa. Those aren't good.
4 and 5 suck. Well, okay, 4 is okay. 5 sucks.
Did we watch 5?
Yeah, we watched 5.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we watched 5. 5's not good. 4 is okay.
We didn't watch 6.
Maybe I haven't seen 6, which has a dumb name.
It could be good. You don't know yet.
I don't believe you.
It's not good. Do you believe me now?
I do believe you now. I'm trying to figure out where the actual information is. Oh, so yeah, if you want to go see the original Halloween film, you can go to 1978halloween.com. And there are tickets on there. You can find it in your local theaters. It's like 600 plus theaters. There's not really a lot of information on the website or on the article I'm reading. Let me click on the website because I don't know where actually you can go to watch it. Oh, there's literally only one theater in our city that's showing it.
Yeah, stuff like that's usually one theater per area.
Oh, it's not even in our city. It's in a different city, but it's the nearest one.
Well, I wasn't going to go to it anyways.
Well, I was trying to go.
You want to see Halloween 4 again?
No, I want to see Halloween.
I thought you said it was 4, 5, 6.
It was Halloween, and then 4 and 5.
Oh.
Which is dumb, right? Show 2.
That's so weird.
Go like 1, 2, and then like the new ones maybe. Not 1, 2, 3, because 3 doesn't make sense.
No, because 4
is a continuation
of 2.
Yes, of 2.
Oh, that's weird then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They skipped 2 for some reason.
They might have not had the rights to it.
Which is crazy because that's my favorite one.
Yeah, sucks. Sucks to be you.
It does suck to be me. But yeah, so the original Halloween film is showing in theaters with 4 and 5. Go to 1978halloween.com to see if you can find it showing in your area and check it out. I love that movie. I can't wait to finish that series because clearly all those films are going to be good. Nothing bad could possibly happen. I think that is it for news today, Ben.
Okay.
Unless you have something else, but I don't think you do, right?
Nope. Podcast, part of the podcast. So, once again, I'll do this rundown again. We have 3 categories to choose from this season. Last week, we started with our worst category, which is mine this season. Shocker about that. It's Killer Objects. We watched Maximum Overdrive, which is a movie with a lot of AC/DC.
True. That's a good description.
But, some people like it.
Some people do like it. My dad likes it.
Some people might say it even rings their bell. Their hell's bell.
Okay. You're really going for it.
Yeah. It was a stretch.
A little bit.
Otherwise, our random this season was Small Creatures.
Ooh.
And then Bob's category is like investigative.
Like true crime sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, look, I know last week we started with kind of a bad movie. And I kind of want to keep the trend up. On God. I kind of want to save my category for later.
But I think we should watch a good movie today.
Ben keeps saying that. He's like, we should watch a good movie. There's probably a good movie in Small Creatures. There's got to be at least one. You can't have filled every category with piles of shit except for one of them.
I can certainly try. Okay. Moment of transparency here. The best category this season is yours.
Yeah, I knew that coming in.
The worst category this season? Probably mine.
Okay, so this is my my expectations have not moved from where I thought we were going to be.
But I think we should watch a good movie today.
I was telling Ben this. We're both very tired. I don't want to watch like a super think-heavy psychological thriller movie.
It'll be fun.
Dog.
It'll be fun.
Oh my God. Okay, you know what? Fine. I never do what you want.
Woo!
I'm never nice to you on the podcast.
Sweet.
I'll be nice to you for once.
That's
I'll choose my category.
great.
What do I have?
I don't
have
have
3 spots.
I don't have the energy for a bad movie today. I'm going to be honest. I would have fallen asleep while we watched the movie. It would have been a repeat of Leprechaun.
Oh, that
which was
bad.
also about a small critter.
That's true.
You have all the spots.
Yeah, I have all the spots.
Is that what you asked me? Did you ask me what spots you had?
Yeah, well, I'm so used to it, but because most of the time, I don't have all the spots. A majority of every season, I have not all the spots.
That is true, yes.
So it's a habit.
Like a nun's habit?
No, I think that recharges your item when you take damage, right?
Well, no, that's just a real thing. For anyone who's confused, I
I
did that knowing full well that Bob would reference a video game called The Binding of Isaac and not the thing nuns wear that cover their hair.
Well, that's what it is, though.
Yes.
It is a nun's habit. Yeah. That's yes. Anyway, what's in 3?
3?
Every season, I never know where to start.
You sure?
Dog, you can't look at me like that. Stop. Yeah, Ben, what's in spot number 3?
We're going to start with a good one. We can forget Maximum Overdrive. That was garbage. We'll start with a good one now.
Oh, I feel like you're trolling me. Are you joking?
Oh, no. The Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, no. Oh, we might need a trash can.
You'll be fine.
No, bro.
You'll be fine.
I've been wanting to watch this movie for a long time.
I know.
But I'm worried that it'll make me throw up
No.
because it's about cannibalism.
Not really.
But it is, though.
No.
He eats people.
Yeah, but it's not about cannibalism.
Okay.
Yeah. We can get into that in a little bit, but you'll be fine.
Okay.
It's actually a very, very not gory movie.
No, great.
Yeah. Description. Hello, Clarice.
Okay. I know vaguely a little bit about this movie. I know like I've seen like clips of him above the pit. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, like stuff like that.
Buffalo Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are very famous. By the way, this came out in 1991.
Damn, I did not realize this was a 90s film.
Yeah. Like most good things
Oh my god.
from the 90s. It's an hour and 58 minutes long.
Oh, it's fucking 2 hours. This is why I didn't want to pick this category. This is exactly why I didn't want to pick this category, because I knew this was going to happen.
It's rated R. IMDb gave it an 8.6 out of 10. Tomato Meter gave it a 95%. And an audience score of 95%.
I mean, I've heard this movie's incredible.
For awards, it has
Oh.
71 wins and 50 nominations.
God damn.
Out of those awards won, 5 of them are Oscar wins. And since I think this is relevant right now, this movie was super well received. In fact, it was the 5th highest grossing film of 1991 worldwide, which is pretty insane. But more importantly, it is the 3rd and most recent film, the other 2 being It Happened One Night and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, to win Academy Awards in all the major 5 categories.
Damn.
So, Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Adapted Screenplay. And it is also the first and only horror film to win Best Picture.
Wow. There's only been one and it was this one?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
People don't respect horror, so this movie is like kind of not that horrifying, so it qualified. Moving on to notable actors, we got Jodie Foster as Clarice Starling. She played Erica Bain in The Brave One. Anthony Hopkins as Dr. Hannibal Lecter. He played Alfred Hitchcock in Hitchcock. Scott Glenn as Jack Crawford. He played Bart Mancuso in The Hunt for Red October. Ted Levine as James Gump. He played Warden in Shutter Island, as well as Big Bob in The Hills Have Eyes, the remake.
Oh, no, not the remake.
It's you, Big Bob.
Yeah. Don't call me big, dog.
You're that racist bald old man.
I'm not racist, nor am I bald or an old man. I'm none of those things. Well, except for man, I guess.
I'll give you that one.
Thank you.
Anthony Held as Dr. Frederick Chilton. He played Simon Canton in Deep Rising. Ocean movie.
Oh, fuck you.
Very good movie, though. It's very fun. It's very similar to, like, tonally, to The Mummy, the Brendan Fraser one.
Whoa.
It's a lot of fun. I
That
love
sounds
it.
like fun, actually.
Brooke Smith as Catherine Martin. She played Officer Swanson in Bad Company. Diane Baker as U.S. Senator Ruth Martin. She was Jenny Lindenbrook in Journey to the Center of the Earth. The duck one.
Who is that? Is that the love interest lady?
It's the love interest for the young man.
Yes. Okay, I thought so. That's
The,
what I was trying to figure out.
What is it? Niece of the professor?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a good movie.
I miss that duck.
I also miss that duck.
Casey Lemons as Ardelia Mapp. She played Bernadette Walsh in Candyman. Good movie.
Haven't seen it.
Haven't
Really
seen
need
it
to
yet.
see it.
Good movie. Charles Napier as Lieutenant Bill Boyle.
He was also in Journey to the Center of the Earth. No, he wasn't. What was he in? He was in something. I know that name.
He's been in a couple famous things. I didn't
Batman.
I didn't write down any of those famous things. I just wrote down the one thing I was pretty sure you'd know. He was Commander Gilmore in Austin Powers' International Man of Mystery.
No, he's in something else we've seen on the podcast. You're trolling me right now.
But you know Austin Powers' International Man of Mystery.
Well, yeah, I've seen that movie.
Yeah, see?
No, he was it The Uninvited? Maybe?
I mean, he was in a couple things. Kind of the big ones he's famous for, outside of this movie and Austin Powers. He's in Rambo Part 2, Second Blood. He's in Blues Brothers.
No, he's in something we've seen on the show. That name is ungodly levels of familiar. Oh, wait, maybe it's not. Maybe I'm lying to you.
I showed Bob a picture. I don't think so.
Then why is that name so familiar?
Because it probably sounds like a different guy who we've had on an episode.
Probably. I could have swore that was like a Batman actor or something.
I don't think so.
Not that we watched Batman.
Not that we've seen Batman. I have it over there.
True.
Always bring that up. Tracy Walter as Lamar. He played Bob the Goon in Batman.
Oh my god. Okay, well, now we're the Batman actors.
Now we're the Batman. Roger Corman
Whoa!
as FBI Director Hayden Burke.
That's cool!
Yeah, there's a lot of people in this movie. I'm not going to mention all of them, but I am going to mention some of the cool ones. He played Congressman in Apollo 13.
Didn't know that.
If you didn't know this, we've talked about it before. Apollo 13 has an actor from Cannibal Holocaust in one of the main roles.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yep. Good movie, though.
Good.
Good movie.
Apollo 13?
Yes.
Okay.
Cannibal Holocaust?
Also a good movie.
In a very different way. Ron Valter as Paul Krendler. He was a therapist in Sex, Lies, and Videotape. Frankie Faison as Barney Matthews. He was Handy in Maximum Overdrive, which we just watched.
Which one of the many people who worked at that gas station is that?
He's the black guy. The only one in that movie.
Yeah, no, he might be.
I think there's only one black guy in that
Well,
movie.
I thought you said Handy. Man's name is Andy.
And then he's also Chief Elliot Gordon in White Chicks. That's how you know him.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Paul Lazar as Pilcher. He was Paul in Snowpiercer. Dan Butler as Rodin. He was Bulldog Briscoe from Frasier. He was on 53 episodes between 1993 and 2004. Chris Isaac as SWAT Commander. He was Special Agent Chester Desmond in Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me. Stuart Rudin as Miggs. He was Bus Shelter Bum in Little Nicky, a movie Bob might have seen.
I don't know what that is.
It's a film with the guy from Grown Ups and Click.
Adam Sandler.
Yes. I think he is like the son of Satan.
Oh, okay.
There's a talking dog. Darla as the dog Precious. She played Ratty Poodle in Batman Returns.
Another Batman
Batman actor. Cynthia Edinger as Officer Jacobs. They were Cynthia Harbridge in Frailty. Good movie.
That's a good movie.
Yeah. Brett Hinckley as Officer Murray. He was Jerry in Jacob's Ladder. That's a film that'll freak you out.
Oh, okay.
Alex Coleman as Sergeant Jim Pembry. He was a newscaster in The Client. Daniel Von Bargen as SWAT communicator. He was Mr. John Tate in The Faculty. Harry Northup as Mr. Bimmel. He was Doughboy and Taxi Driver. And then last but not least, Bob's favorite man of all time, George A. Romero as a jailer.
Oh, that's cool.
He has an uncredited cameo in this. You might also be familiar with him as Dawn of the Dead from Phineas and Ferb.
Not this bit again.
It's on one episode,
You
2014.
can't recycle your bits like this.
Dawn of the Dead.
When did you come up? When did we bring that up? What, Knight Riders or something?
I think it was Knight Riders.
Oh my god.
was like, what else has he acted in? Oh, yeah!
This!
The town's being invaded with pharmacists. Director's Jonathan Demme. He also directed Philadelphia in 1993. Writer's Ted Talley. He wrote, among other things, Red Dragon, which is a sequel to this film.
Oh, I did not know there was a sequel.
Didn't know that. The other writer is obviously the author because this is based on a book. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Not really.
I don't think he wrote the screenplay, but obviously he has a writing credit on the film. That is Thomas Harris, and he wrote a book that has the same name as this film. Obviously, The Silence of the Lambs, that came out in 1988.
Damn, that's a quick little turnaround on getting it adapted.
Pretty much, it was popular, like bestseller. Estimated budget of $19 million, with a box office turnout of $272.7 million.
Holy fuck.
It made a lot of money.
I knew it was going to be a lot of money.
Yeah.
But god damn.
Country of origin, United States. Tagline.
Ooh.
Ready? This is a good one.
Okay.
From the terrifying bestseller.
That sucks.
I know it does. It sucks.
That sucks so bad.
I'm sure there's other taglines, but that was the one on the famous poster. So I thought I'd copy it.
Yeah.
Because it's really bad.
That's bad.
It's minimalist, which makes the poster look really good.
Yeah, but
it sucks. But at the same time, this movie's well known enough where they didn't need a good tagline.
fair.
And also, the best advertisement they could have for the movie is by saying it's based on this really popular book.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
In defense. Now, the first thing I kind of want to mention here about facts for this film is probably the most interesting thing, at least for me, because it was the biggest issue when it came to putting this movie on the board.
Okay.
So, you didn't know there was any sequels to this
No,
movie.
I did not know that.
There's a couple, actually.
Whoa, okay.
There is one follow-up film.
Okay.
That's entitled Hannibal, which was released in 2001. And then there are two prequel films. Red Dragon, that was released in 2002. And Hannibal Rising, which was released in 2007. And Hannibal Rising is notoriously really bad. In fact,
Great.
a lot of these sequels are considered not great. They do, however, generally have the actor for Hannibal in them.
Mhm.
That's kind of the big selling point. Except for Hannibal Rising. I think that's the one where he's a child.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense because that's a grown man.
Yeah. In either case, in addition to those movies, there's obviously the TV show, which came out between 2013 and 2015.
I heard the show's really good.
Yeah, it's supposed to be really good. The writer associated with Child's Play worked on it.
Oh, that's cool.
In either case, that's set in between, I believe, Hannibal Rising and Red Dragon, roughly. But the thing to note here is that Red Dragon, at least, and I also think Hannibal are actually based on books. Red Dragon came out in, I believe, 1981, and then Hannibal, the third book, I think was written to make a movie. So it's not considered, great. It's a little bit weird. But long story short, my issue with putting this film on the podcast is it's technically the second film in a franchise.
Oh my god, what the fuck?
Obviously, because it's Red Dragon,
Oh,
Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, chronologically, but this came out first.
Except there is another adaptation of Red Dragon that came out in 1986.
Holy shit.
Called Manhunter. And Manhunter is really good.
Oh.
I actually like Manhunter better than Red Dragon, even though it has a different Hannibal actor.
Mhm.
It's a lot more artsy
okay.
than Red Dragon, but I think it's really good. And it was kind of weird putting this film on the board because I'm like, well, do we start with the original film
Yeah.
that's somewhat unrelated? Because this film can stand by itself. In fact,
Mhm.
most people I don't think realize it's technically a sequel.
I had no idea that it had an extended universe like this.
So we're just going to watch it as a single film today. In the script, you'll sometimes hear references to stuff that happened before because we're kind of halfway through a story.
Whoa, that's cool though.
That's why when you were like, oh, there's a bunch of cannibalism, I'm like, no, there isn't. 'Cause,
This is post-cannibalism.
Kind of, yeah. In either case, we'll watch Manhunter at some point, and then we'll also watch Red Dragon at some point. probably start with Manhunter because I like that one more,
Sure.
or at least how it's shot. I think I like the actor for the villain better in Red Dragon. I don't know. I'm on the fence with stuff like that. Either way, kind of a weird thing to do. It is done by a different studio, though.
Really?
Yeah, it did really bad.
Oh, that sucks.
I think Dino De Laurentiis was the producer
Jesus
associated
Christ, this
with
guy
it.
keeps coming up.
And I think he just like gave away the rights for free to the studio that did this movie.
That's wild.
Because the original one did so poorly, and he was like,
no one will make money.
no one will
this.
make money with that. Then they made
a gabillion
$1 billion. In either case, if you couldn't tell, this film's considered to be one of the best films of all time by a lot of people.
Literally ever.
And because of that, in 2011, it was selected for preservation in the National Film Archive.
Good.
Or National Film Registry, whatever you want to call it. Either case, principal photography on the film began November 15th, 1989, and wrapped up March 1st, 1990. Filming primarily took place in and around Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with some additional scenes shot nearby in Northwest Virginia. So there's a couple scenes shot like outside of those two regions, but those are the main shooting locations for this film.
Well, that explains why they got George A. Romero. He was a up-and-coming actor looking for work in the Pittsburgh area.
I feel like that was a man that was always up and coming, like his entire life.
Isn't the entire time until he peaked and then he died.
He peaked on Phineas and Ferb.
Shut up. No, he
2014.
didn't. He didn't. I'll tell you when he peaked. When he shot Day of the Dead. It's his best movie. Bro made a masterpiece.
What about Knight Riders?
Knight Riders is a very good movie.
Knight Riders is great.
It's a very fun movie. But
I
it's
like-
not Day of the Dead.
I like watching people on motorcycles joust
Yeah.
violently.
It's pretty sweet. I'm not going to lie. It's really cool.
But that's all I got for now.
Really?
Yeah.
I expected this to be like a year and a half long. 'cause-
Look, it's kind of my thing with any like super famous movie where it's like, you guys can just go find production facts yourself.
But also, like, there's probably whole ass documentaries on
Because
this.
there's whole ass documentaries on this. We'll talk some about like film analysis when we get to it. But this is again one of those films that's super well documented.
Yeah.
And you're probably better served going and finding like an actual documentary or one of the books written about the production.
Yeah, we're just two dudes who record a podcast. We don't actually know stuff. Well, we do know stuff, but it's not like that, though. Nothing crazy, you know what I mean? Anyway.
So you ready?
Yeah, fuck. I'm scared, Ben.
It's not that bad. We can get you a bucket if you want.
No, I think I'll be okay.
All right. Well, then we'll be back in a second.
Yeah, we'll see you guys in a minute. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We just finished watching The Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
Okay.
You almost struggled with that name.
Well, because I was thinking about this while I was saying it. I didn't get the movie title until, like, watching the movie. Like, the movie title means nothing until you watch the film, which is weird.
Yeah, that's usually how movies work. There's this thing
no,
called
Big Dog.
There's
dog,
this thing called
no,
context.
No, shut up. But, like, okay. So, like, if you're going to watch Godzilla, you know what Godzilla... But, like, there's...
Yeah, but you only know what Godzilla is if you've seen Godzilla.
My point being, I did not put together what the movie title was referring to until just now when I said it again.
That's a different problem.
That is my point, Ben.
That is a much different problem.
I hadn't thought about it until this moment.
Seeing as they had a whole sequence devoted to the Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, but, like...
I don't know. It's very much a book title.
That's true.
Like, if this had been just a movie and not a book adaptation, I don't think they would have named it Silence of the Lambs.
I mean, yeah.
But obviously it was a book adaptation, so they have all that introspectual stuff. So anyways, what did you think of the movie? Like, name issues aside.
I liked it.
You
I thought
liked
it
it?
was good. Yeah. I'm going to put this out there. You know, maybe I'm a big baby.
That
Maybe.
not a maybe. That's a fact.
Okay. Well,
In fact, if you've ever seen Bob in real life, he's actually just a giant baby.
if I shaved my beard, probably, yeah. I would look like a giant child. But this movie made me wildly uncomfortable. Like, I knew it, but it wasn't scary at all. Like, it wasn't, I was not like, scared, but I was so uncomfortable for most of it. And there were particular scenes where I was literally so fucking tense. Like, my body, I was literally like fully rigid.
Yeah, you looked like you were not having a good time.
No, I wasn't. I mean, I was, but I wasn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you thought the movie was good, but You did not seem to be enjoying yourself.
No, I wasn't enjoying myself at all, but that was the point of the film.
In either case, I guess you want to do our usual spiel. We'll give a brief little rundown and then we'll get into spoilers.
Sure.
Okay. Then, as always, it's our usual thing. We say it a lot, but go watch this movie before you get spoilers.
Yeah.
It's a good movie, and spoilers are bad.
True.
Although it's super famous, so I'm sure most people have a lot of spoilers from just
I mean, sure.
cultural osmosis.
But I'm like, steeped in the internet and knowing things about random stuff. And I thought I knew stuff about this movie, and then we watched it and I went, I don't know anything about this.
That's fair.
I knew one thing.
Is it like when you totally knew the ending to Scream?
Not to that level, but it was very similar, yes.
Okay. What this film is about is it's about this woman, Clarice Starling. She is a trainee FBI agent, and she's in the academy still. And her boss, essentially, it's the guy who runs the criminal profiling.
Behavioral science.
Yes, behavioral science part of the FBI. Basically asked her to go interview this guy by the name of Hannibal Lecter, who's been in prison for 8 years.
Yeah, I think so. Well, in that particular cell for 8 years.
Yeah, and he's nicknamed Hannibal the Cannibal.
Yeah, he eats people.
He eats people. It's not a focus of this movie.
Well,
Let me stress that. It's not a focus of this movie,
it's not a focus of this movie, but it is very important.
I guess. But in
What
either
do you mean, you
case,
guess?
in either case, Clarice goes to interview Hannibal Lecter, and they get to talking. And in the background of their discussions, there's this whole investigation plot involving this guy named Buffalo Bill, who likes to kidnap women and skin them.
Yeah.
Kind of the through plot of the whole story is that Hannibal Lecter might know some things about the identity of Buffalo Bill. So it's up to Clarice to kind of wheedle information out of him. So if that sounds good, it's a nice little detective story.
Yeah.
With that being said, let's get into it. So, anything you'd like to start with?
No, I'll let you go, because there's a lot that we could start with, and I don't know where to begin.
All right, then I guess the first thing I want to start off with then is focusing on some of the acting performances.
Sure.
I think that's probably one of the biggest things this movie has going for it,
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
is just the performances of, I think very specifically, the two main leads. So Hannibal Lecter and Clarice Starling, both of them are portrayed amazingly.
Yeah. No,
In
they're really
fact,
good performances.
I would argue that 50% at least of the scenes that made Bob really uncomfortable were just monologues of Hannibal Lecter's actor,
Yeah.
just close up on his face, talking.
Yapping.
And that's basically most of his scenes. And so the fact that I think that character is really memorable, having done, functionally speaking, very little in the film,
Mm-hmm.
is really cool.
No, it is really cool.
It's a really hard role to sell. And then on the flip side, we have Clarice Starling, who is kind of a hard thing because this is a book adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
So very clearly you can tell there's a lot of subtext missing that would have been like internal monologues.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think the actor's really good at doing like quiet performances where you're able to tell what the character's thinking without them saying anything.
Yeah, and I think the movie helps her, like, at least the way they shot the movie and like paced it out, helps her a lot, because there are lots of moments where it's like we are given information through flashbacks that we otherwise wouldn't have and would need a monologue for. And then when you see her reaction to certain stuff, you can refer back to the flashback to understand the subtext and whatnot. And I think it's really, really good.
Yeah. So just shout out to Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins. I think the other one person that I think really sells it, because it's the only character we really get a lot of screen time of, in addition to those two, is Ted Levine. So he plays Buffalo Bill. And he
Fucking psychopath.
he acts like a convincing serial killer. So
Yeah. Super cool.
always great to see when people give it their all in horrific roles like that.
Oh, God. Ugh.
But I did want to start with like mentioning how good the acting performances are, because I think the thing that most people don't really realize when they talk about this movie is how slow it is. Like the film is, I would argue, primarily a character piece, just dealing with the interactions
100%.
between Hannibal Lecter and Clarice. And there's very little outside of that.
No, that's like the whole movie.
In fact, I hadn't seen this film in a bit. And, rewatching it at this time, you really do realize how little investigation is actually in the movie.
No, there's like almost none.
Because Hannibal Lecter is basically just
Spoon feeding it to her.
spoon feeding it to Clarice. She does a little bit at the end, but it's interesting because like for a film that's as long as this one is, it's nearly 2 hours. Functionally speaking, not a lot happens. And I think if we didn't have those 3 really good performances,
It would be so boring.
this would be a bad film. Like you could keep the script the same, but without really, really good performances from the actors, I think it would have flopped.
Yeah, because I mean, if these performances aren't as good as they are, you're not gonna get the same experience. Like, I think this writing is okay. Like the writing is fine, functionally speaking. Like it works as a script. But because the performances are so good, there are moments where it's like my eyes are glued to the screen because I'm watching every single detail of their expression because I'm getting everything matters. Like I'm getting so much out of so little, if that makes sense. Like there are scenes where literally like Anthony Hopkins is doing like this whole, monologue as Hannibal Lecter, and he'll just like you'll notice like twitches in his face, or he'll lick his lips, or he'll like blink at certain times, and it's just like all those little things mean so much because he's so focused in on what he's doing, and it makes it enthralling in a way that I don't think the film would be otherwise.
Yeah. I think the big thing, at least for me, with his performance is it's subtly off.
Yeah.
Like the way Hopkins plays Hannibal, you can tell he isn't like a normal person. There's too much control involved,
Yeah.
and it feels weirdly clinical, which makes sense for, a character that's a psychotic therapist. But it's cool.
It's
I really like it.
crazy cool.
And I definitely see why. I mean, I've seen Manhunter. I know you haven't, but I can tell why this film succeeded where the other ones failed. And I do think in a lot of ways it is the strength of the 2 main actors, but especially Andrew Hopkins. I believe that's his name, right?
Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins, which obviously is why he uses this role again.
Yeah.
In some of the later films. But yeah, outside of the performance, I think the next really big thing I do want to talk about, though, is how the film shot. I'm not sure if you picked up on this, but I've had to talk about this film in film class before.
Oh, okay.
So I know personally one of the really big things with this movie is that it is shot almost to resemble like the human gaze. So a lot of the shots are panoramic. They focus on like head height level stuff.
Oh, okay.
But the big thing with that whole style that they use in this film is it's made to feel voyeuristic.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
And very specifically, the way I've heard the way this film is shot is it's intended to be a reflection on the male gaze, because so much of this film is like people sexualizing Clarice.
Oh, yeah.
Like all the time.
I mean, there's just this really, at least I noticed a really intense, not intense, but like a really poignant moment for me is like at the very beginning of the movie, she gets in an elevator and it's all dudes and they all look at her.
Yeah.
Like weird. Like a woman in the FBI? That's crazy.
Yeah, there's a ton of subtle ones, but if you look when you're watching the film, you can see that a lot of the shots feel like they're shot either from her perspective, where she's looking at stuff. Like there's some weird like camera turns sometimes, like when she walks into the cell at first, which feels like we're getting to see through her eyes. But then there's some stuff where it's like peeking through bars at her, stuff like that. I don't know. It's a very interesting style because it's not cinematic.
No,
like you'd
it's
expect
not.
from a classic movie. It's much more close up.
But I think that helps make all of the, because we haven't really talked about it, but the film is not very action focused. Like there is a little bit here and there, but it's very like, it feels almost claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Which is what makes it so tense. Like that's why I'm freaking out, is because I feel so intertwined with the character that these events are happening to. So I can feel everything that she's feeling at the same time because of the way it's shot. And it's really cool.
Yeah, and I think that's really, really, again, one of the big strong points with this film. I do think it is really interesting, though, because, like, when we talk about older films, especially, like, big movies like this, we tend to think about, like, something like a movie shot by Spielberg.
Yeah.
Which tends to have, like, long sequences on a really big set.
It feels epic, right? Like, it's supposed to feel bigger than it really is.
And it feels really big. And in modern films, I don't know if you know the logistics of how modern films are shot. They'll usually do, like, a couple takes, but they'll do them from like a bunch of different angles,
Mhm.
so you can cut the footage together.
Yeah.
So there is a lot more like close-up shots, but they're choppy. And I think this one's very interesting because it's a lot of sustained shots, but they feel close up.
Yeah, and I think that reflects more perspective, right? Like that's
Yeah.
the point. Is you're supposed to feel like you're not changing where you are, you're just moving from place to place like you are the person witnessing, which makes it very, very intense when horrible things happen.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, outside of those two big selling points for this movie, do you have anything you want to talk about specifically?
I mean, we haven't talked about it, but I think this movie, came out in 1991?
I believe so.
It feels very much like a movie from the 90s.
Oh, everyone looks
Which is
like they're from
so
the 90s.
cool. Because we're watching this 23 years later.
Nope.
33? 33? Motherfucker. Holy shit.
You did the thing where you counted
Yeah,
for the day you were
from
born.
Yeah, 30. So we're 30 years removed from the making of this film and from the 90s themselves. And that's just really cool. I really like it. I think it's really sweet. As someone who was not alive in the 90s and does not remember anything what it was like back then and has only seen media from the 90s, I think a lot of the antiquated technology stuff or like FBI sort of bureaucracy whatnot is very interesting and cool because it's very dated, but it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, not to double down on something we were just talking about, but I think the way that mostly comes through is with some of the gender politics stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's just probably the biggest focus of the film. Again, is how Clarice kind of interacts with the world. So getting to see how male-oriented like her
Yep.
workplace is and how people treat her is really interesting, and I think helps confirm like what time period we're in.
Yeah, but also like the film very specifically always takes Clarice's perspective with these interactions into account. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like it's sort of like belittling her at all, actually. It's quite the opposite. Like there's this scene in the car that sticks out to me very explicitly where they have just gone to West Virginia and, of course, all of the cops there do not want to listen to Clarice because she's a woman. And the dude she worked for, Jack Crawford, like basically sort of does what they want because he needs to like get them to do their job. And she's like, hey, I didn't like that. Like that's kind of sexist. And he was like, yeah, but I'm doing what I have to because of the way things are. Like he's sort of like, sorry, I'll take that into account next time, but I had to do what I had to do. And that just sort of, it really ingrains a lot of, because sexism is real. It is a real problem. But it ingrains it into the film in a very real way that I didn't really think about.
Yeah. On a more positive note, there is some other 90s stuff like the clothes.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of pantsuits.
Phones.
But I think the most jarring of it all is there's a song played during one
Oh my
sequence
God.
in a car. That might have been some of the only music in the film that was like lyrical like that. It stands out as so 90s. I was like, I listened to that song as a child.
Sure, Ben.
A child of the 90s.
Yeah. Born in 1990 fucking 9.
Yeah.
In November of 1999.
The 90s.
You were in the 90s for a month.
The 90s.
Jesus Christ.
So I guess probably one of the biggest discussions to have with this film, because I do think it needs to be addressed here, is kind of your misconceptions about it.
Oh, yeah, I have a couple.
So what were you expecting this film to be when you went in? Because you had some kind of ideas about it from being on the internet and stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't think those were kind of what you were expecting.
So, like, I knew Buffalo Bill, that's what the killer is called. His name is Buffalo Bill, is what everyone calls him. I knew he existed, and I knew he was a part of the film. I just assumed that Hannibal Lecter was the killer in the movie, and he was, like, eating people or something, because it's Hannibal Lecter. Like, when assumedly, I guess my thought was, he's the most famous name tied to this movie that I can think of. Therefore, he must be the main character and the main killer. Not true at all. Totally missed that. I definitely thought that there was, like, a moment where, I guess this is spoilers for the end of the film. So, sorry if you haven't stepped away. I thought Clarice was going to get captured at some point and, like, be, like, tormented by Buffalo Bill or somebody. Like, I thought that was going to happen. That never happened. And I also thought it was going to be more investigative-y and less, like, I thought there was going to be a lot less screen time on Hannibal Lecter once I realized he was not the main killer. But, I mean, most of this movie is Hannibal.
yeah.
Which, I mean, I liked. It was really cool.
He steals the show.
He steals the show, and he's really a very good performance. But it was not what I expected coming in. Like, once I realized he wasn't going to be the main killer.
That's fair. And I I personally think maybe some of that confusion comes from the fact that, again, this is the second story in a series.
Yeah, sure.
So there's a lot more investigative work in the first story than there is in this one, and less Hannibal Lecter. So that is a difference. But yeah, I do think it's one of those films that's a little bit different than most people think, because people are just skewed to thinking that Hannibal Lecter is the villain. Now, he is a very good character. Like we talked about, he's really creepy. But Buffalo Bill's also in here. And did you like Buffalo Bill
Yeah.
as a killer?
Yeah. Thought he was cool.
He's definitely interesting. My understanding is he's a combination of a couple different serial killers.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of the first one you pick up on is, I believe, Ted Bundy. He uses like this whole technique to get someone in his car by pretending to have like a broken arm. I believe Ted Bundy did a very similar thing where he'd pretend to be like injured or something to like entice people to let their guard down and stuff. That's why you shouldn't hop in someone's car to help them if you don't know them, obviously. But there's a couple other killers he's based on. One of them is Gary M. Heidnick.
Oh, never heard of this guy.
Smaller one. I believe that's where like the pit stuff comes from.
Oh, okay.
But the kind of the really big one that I think everyone knows at this point is Ed Gein.
Yep.
If you don't know, famous for being like super horrific, and he's what a bunch of horror movie serial killers are based on, because he like skinned people, ate them, dug up corpses, stuff like that. And he's actually the inspiration for a bunch of stuff like Leatherface as well.
Yeah.
And kind of the big thing I want to bring up here with Buffalo Bill is I'm pretty sure the whole through line of Buffalo Bill like creating a woman suit comes from Ed Gein.
Yeah, because didn't he do the same thing?
Because my understanding is he tried to create one for his mom.
Because he wanted to.
He wanted to feel what it was like to be
in the womb.
inside
Yeah.
her. Yeah. And that's why we also see like similar female masks in things like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But the unfortunate fact of the matter is that this film especially has some relatively negative associations between like someone who's clearly like unwell, so Buffalo Bill, and like the LGBTQ community, which aren't great.
I think so. Yes, you're right, but also they sort of explain it away a little. Not explain it away, but they talk about it and they treat it relatively like okay. But I do understand the negative association.
Yeah, I think I've talked to some people, and I know that certain people have issues with this film because of Buffalo Bill, because there's implications that he's gay, and there's
not implications. I'm pretty sure he is gay.
So there's implications that he's gay, and then there's also implications that he's transgender, but the film very ham-fisted, because they knew it was going to be an issue, go like explicitly he's not. But yeah, it definitely probably created a bunch of stereotypes that we see more often now in Hollywood than we did back in the day, just with how famous this film is. But yeah, the film's justification for like those not being the case is I think Hannibal Lecter says he isn't gay. I think he might say he thinks he is. He definitely says he thinks he's transgender, but he just doesn't want to be himself.
Yeah, and he also
the farthest thing from him.
Well, he just says that. Well, I guess it's like through. It could be all be a lie, because he says like, what is the other dude's name? Was it like Ed Rispale or whatever? His client.
Yeah.
That he didn't kill. I guess he actually didn't kill him.
He did kill him. Yeah.
He's like, yeah, he says they were lovers. So it's like he's saying from someone that's dead that can't confirm nor deny that they were like together, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those weird things with this movie where it's like you can tell the people who made the movie it's a part of the script, but they really wanted to kind of distance themselves.
Well, I think they
with
do
those
a good job,
themes.
at least okay, of being like at one point, someone brings up like being trans is like a negative thing, and Starring literally goes, "No, if you're trans, that doesn't make you a bad. Like they're actually pretty normal. Like you're just a normal person."
Yeah, it's just one of those unfortunate things that feels.
No, and I totally get that, but I think it handles it in like it's not completely and totally negative. Like it is not a deplorable sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not the worst, but it's just
No.
like kind of the unfortunate part of this film
Yeah.
is that whole, connotation.
But I think it works with the other themes we're going for, with everything being sort of told through the female gaze, and then like looking at how Starling is treating Buffalo Bill and the idea of trans people, and then how the men treat Buffalo Bill and the thoughts on trans people. So it's just like it all works together as a piece.
Yeah, I think it all works together in this film. I think it's just that issue of like the effects this film has had
Oh, for sure.
because it's so popular that people
Yeah.
copy that archetype without the nuance,
Mm-hmm.
and that creates its own problem.
Well, yeah, because if you take all the nuance out, then it is just like, oh,
It is just
you're
offensive.
You're just being offensive. Yeah.
Yeah. What else in this is really cool? Buffalo Bill has this whole association with moths.
Oh, yeah. That is cool.
It's technically butterflies, but it's heavily emphasized on the, I believe it's the death hawk's moth.
I thought it was Death Head, maybe? Or is it a hawk moth?
It's a hawk moth, but it might be a death head hawk moth.
We're really getting everything confused there.
Yeah, death head hawk moth.
Okay, yeah.
Because the species is a hawk moth, and it's a death head's moth. They're really cool.
They are really cool.
They have like an actual thing that looks like a skull on their back.
Yeah.
But kind of in that whole analogy sequence, he really likes them for their whole like association with transformation
Which
and
makes
freedom because they can fly.
Brings us back to the whole trans analogy thing. It's all a circle.
Yeah, again, there's a lot of deep themes in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, you can tell it comes from a book. And I
Oh, yeah.
don't think necessarily everything carries over really well, but I do think they did a nice job adapting it. I think one of the biggest scenes like that stands out to me is the whole Silence of the Lambs thing. Kind of the whole deal that Clarice and Hannibal have going is that they will share information, quid pro quo, where Clarice will share something personal about herself, and then Hannibal Lecter will give her something about the case. And the information he wheedles out of her is like the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to her,
Yeah.
which is how her dad died, and she moved onto a farm with her, I think her mom's cousin
Yeah, it was something like that.
and her husband. And it's all about like how she ran away because she saw a bunch of lambs being slaughtered. And it's like a very well acted scene. I think it's very emotional, but I do think you miss out on some of the context just because we don't get the actual internal thoughts of the characters.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but
It's like a greatly acted scene, but it feels like something's missing.
and I think that is a problem when you adapt from a book. Like you just can't, unless you are going to sit there and give internal monologue and like really go deep into this stuff, you can't get sort of the nuance like that. But I think they do the best job they can with like the flashbacks and all of the scenes with Hannibal and the performances from the actors, right?
Yeah.
Like I really think they do the best they can. Because if you were to take this film and add a bunch of internal monologue from Clarice over the top, it then loses a lot of the realism because it feels more like ethereal, almost like out. It feels more removed than
From reality.
which makes all of the scenes with Buffalo Bill and the actual like violence and sort of like weight of the situation and like the grossness of the bodies, they lose all their impact because you're more removed from the situation and you're less getting stuff from her physical perspective and more from her mental perspective, which doesn't work as well, I think.
Yeah. But I do think they handled it pretty well. Or at
No,
least as
I
well
think
as
it's
they
good.
could.
Yeah.
Outside of that, at least for me, I think the last big thing I want to talk about here is some of the more graphic sequences.
Oh, God.
I think the film overall isn't really gory.
No, it's not.
Most of the violence is seen in post.
Mm-hmm.
So something violent will happen and then you see the after effects of it. So
Yeah.
a lot of corpse makeup when you do see something. And kind of the big thing I want to mention is it's all very, I guess the word would be artful.
Yeah.
Like you can tell the camera doesn't want to show you stuff. It
Mhm.
wants to imply something's there.
But I think that is so much more, like, so much worse.
Yeah, it builds up a lot of the tension in you. And then when it finally shows you something, it's usually like a quick shot of it that like frames it in the center of your screen so it can be like burned into your retinas.
Yeah.
And then it'll cut away. And I think the film does a really good job of making whatever it shows you feel very realistic and gritty. Because
Yeah.
honestly, while there isn't a lot of investigation work in this film, the bodies that are left behind are probably the closest we get as an audience to finding clues.
Yeah.
For instance, one of the first like more graphic things we see in the film is one of the corpses from Buffalo Bill's like killings. It's a woman that was found floating in a river because that's where he disposes of bodies. And we get to see a quick shot of like her hands missing fingernails, which Bob didn't like. But we see that come out later when there's like bloody claw marks on the walls of the pit where Buffalo Bill keeps his victims, and we see a fingernail there.
Yep.
Or we look on her back and there's like these diamond cuts
Yep.
there, and very clearly we see that same pattern on a dress later in the film that someone's like pinned up for sewing. And I just think that's really cool because, like, I don't know. I hate to say it's tasteful, but I do think
You're 100% right.
the gore in this is very well done.
Because, like, it's very different from something like Terrifier or Saw or, hell, even, like, a slasher from the 80s like not Hatchet, like Friday the 13th.
Hatchet feels like it's from the
Hatchet
80s.
does feel like it's from the 80s. Where the gore and the intensity of the violence is the draw. In this case, the gore and the intensity of the violence is less the spectacle and more like the icing on top. The spectacle of this film is watching these characters progress through this story in their performances. The gore and stuff just adds a new element of intensity and sort of realism that makes the performances hit even harder because you're witnessing what they get to witness and it feels real.
Yeah. I mean, I think the coolest and most well-shot one, though, is a guy gets strung up.
Oh,
Like, he gets, essentially, he's not blood-eagled, but it's pretty close.
he's getting there.
And they do shoot it almost like
He looks like a moth.
that, too.
I also like Jesus Christ.
I was going to say,
he looks crucified, yeah.
like he's crucified. But they do it really well with all the lighting. That's really good. And again, I think during those sequences, they do a good job of making sure everything lines up with the facts of that world.
Yeah, because you have to.
You have to. But not all films do that, so it is cool to see in this one. In either case, I think the last thing I want to mention with that whole sequence there, surrounding that whole crucifixion, that's what I'm going to call it, of the one dude, is that that's probably the most intense sequence we get with Hannibal Lecter.
Oh, yeah.
And it is amazing. I think that whole sequence demonstrates how smart and dangerous that character is in the perfect way. And while it's ludicrous,
oh, it's insane.
it's really cool because it tricks the audience. And on a second watch, you can see what the trick is.
Yeah.
But you got tricked up until
Up until it's
Until it was revealed.
So I think the coolest part, and we can keep going. We could talk about this part for hours, and we don't need to do that because I want to go home at some point. The coolest part about this movie is how, we've talked about how good Hannibal's performance is and like all this other stuff. The movie does a great job of demonstrating that rather than just telling us, because there are plenty of films where you watch it and you go, it'll tell you like, oh, this guy's really smart, like blah blah blah, and it's like, okay, sure he is, but
and they aren't written like they're smart.
They aren't written that way, and they're not showing us. But they do such a good job at giving you inklings of what Hannibal is up to throughout the film in small little things. Like there's a scene where he's talking to one of the doctors, and it focuses oddly on a pen that's laying on the bed. 20 minutes later, the doctor goes to look for his pen. He's like, I don't have my pen. And you're like, oh my God, where's the pen? Where'd it go? Like, what happened? Where'd it go? And then 30 minutes later, it's revealed that Hannibal has it, and he's using it to do some scheming. And so the movie does a great job at giving you small stuff that all leads to big payoffs and makes Hannibal feel so smart because he's 15 to 20 steps ahead of everyone at every single step. He's always thinking ahead of you, and he always has a plan.
Yeah, and I think the best part of that is he really shows like how twisted he is.
Yeah.
Because he likes to tease people.
Oh, he loves to tease people.
His favorite thing to do is anagrams.
Yep.
That mock people. For instance, he tells the FBI, not Clarice, but he tells them that the name of the serial killer, Buffalo Bill, I forget what it is.
Lewis Friends.
But it's a anagram for like fool's gold.
Yep.
Because it's a false lead. But I think the best one, and it's probably the most famous, I don't know if you've heard about it, is one of the first lines that Hannibal Lecter has with Clarice is this discussion of how he one time killed someone and ate their liver with a side of fava beans and Chianti.
Yeah.
Do you know the
I've heard that line before.
interesting part about that?
No.
So the line is really, really noteworthy if you want to read really into the film, because famously, the medicine that he would have been on cannot be taken with those things.
Oh.
So the implication is he's basically mocking her and telling her that he's not taking his meds.
Interesting.
that would make him like
That's wild.
docile and stuff. And again, I think it goes to show that he's really been planning things out in advance. I mean, biggest implication of that is he rented a storage locker
Yep.
to give Clarice the first clue 10 years ago, which at least for me makes me feel like Buffalo Bill was a plant that he made
Maybe, yeah.
essentially 10 years ago, for
And I
if he
mean-
was ever arrested.
He also, because he's a psychiatrist, he has an insane control. No, I won't say control. He's very good at convincing people to do what he wants.
He gets in your head.
He gets in your head. And I think that's amazingly implied by a scene with, there's this guy named Miggs in the cell
Next to him.
who Hannibal convinces to chew his own tongue off and die, basically, kill himself, just by talking to him, doing nothing else. Now, Miggs is maybe not in the greatest state of mental health because he's in a psychiatric ward of an insane asylum.
Criminal insane asylum.
Criminal insane asylum. So, but still, and we see that demonstrated through his interactions with Clarice and all these other people. And so I think the movie does a fantastic job of making Hannibal work as a character when it doesn't, I'm going to be honest, it's not a movie about Hannibal. It's a movie about Buffalo Bill, but Hannibal is the highlight.
Yep. He's the spice
Yeah.
that brings it all together.
I think the biggest thing is that it sort of demonstrates the duality of a serial killer. You have Buffalo Bill, who is, for all intents and purposes, batshit insane and not very well put together. You can tell from the way his house looks on the upstairs. Dishes everywhere, like dirty, gross.
Hell, you
sort
can
of
tell
disheveled.
from the bathtub.
Oh, the tub is bad too. Ugh. But sort of, disorganized, sort of, I would say, barely escaping police custody for a long time. Like, there is sort of a plan, and he is sort of executing it, but it's very
He feels more manic.
more manic and like happenstance lucky, I guess, in comparison to someone like Hannibal, who is cold, calm, collected.
23,000 steps ahead.
Yeah, will basically never get caught ever again, probably. And I think that sort of duality is what makes the film work, because the moments where you cut from Hannibal to Buffalo Bill are so stark in contrast, and it's really cool.
They're jarring. And again,
it's jarring, which I think
the point.
is the point, and what makes this film so oddly uncomfortable and terrifying.
All right. Then I guess the last thing for me that I want to mention really quick before I finish up, the set designs, all really good.
Oh, yeah, we haven't even talked about fucking Buffalo Bill's cave.
It's wild.
It's fucking cool.
Like, there's so much little things that you can learn about him through. I mean, there's a tank where
yeah.
he's treating skin,
Yep.
but also a bunch of Nazi memorabilia
Oh, yeah, Buffalo Bill's a Nazi.
because he's
I put
also a
that together.
neo-Nazi.
Yeah.
My favorite one's his comforter that just has giant swastikas on it.
It's fucking insane.
Because it's just like, what the fuck?
Like, what is happening in here? No, like all the sewing equipment, the sewing machine, the half-built skin suit hanging on the mannequin.
But there's also other stuff. Like, they go to Ohio and, like, West Virginia, but poorer parts of that. And it really does feel like that.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
When they visit Ohio, we were looking at the scene, and I was like, Bob, that looks like your parents' house.
Yeah. And I was like, he's right. Yes.
Pigeons.
Pigeons.
In either case, I thought all of that was really well done. It looks really real. And
No,
I
yeah,
do think
it
that
does.
helps sell this film.
Yeah, they also do a good job with it with the FBI offices and stuff because, like, in a lot of cases when you watch a film, they will they will overdo a lot of stuff to make it like look nice and sort of clean and how you would picture it in your mind's eye, a picturesque setting. But even the FBI offices look like lived in, worked in. They feel real. They don't feel like it's been a set up. It feels like, oh yeah, that's just Jim's office over there, and there's stuff everywhere.
Feels
Because
like a
he's
government
busy.
place, too.
It feels very bureaucratic and like things are constantly happening.
Grimy and gray.
Yeah, and it's really good. It really adds to the realism of the film, which I think is really what sells it for me, is how real it feels.
Do you have anything else?
No.
Okay. Well, then I guess we can do recommendations.
I mean, if you've never seen it, I think this is like a must-watch, in my opinion. Like, we haven't seen a ton of films like this. I think the closest thing I can maybe liken this to is something like maybe Frailty, which we haven't seen. We watched that a while ago. But it's very similar in that vein. It's a very real piece that I, as a horror fan, was surprised by because when I think of horror, I don't think of films like this. I think of stuff like Friday the 13th or Halloween, slashers. So this was a change of pace and it was really cool. If you like the FBI, That's such a weird one to give, but like I think a lot of the coolest parts of this movie is watching the FBI sort of function,
The bureaucracy.
the bureaucracy of it, and I think that's so interesting because it sucks, and that's sort of the point. But I think that's really fun. I mean, if you're a fan of Jodie Foster or Anthony Hopkins, they both do a fantastic job in this film. They're really, really good. They are some of the best performances we've seen on the show. I think that's it, really.
Okay. Big one for me. If you're looking for a nice, like, true crime, kind of procedural, investigative thing, I think this is a really good one. It's not really a mystery movie,
No.
but it is investigative. And I think it's a really good example of that genre. But obviously, I think the big one is if you haven't seen it before, this movie's really famous. And so I think if you are a fan of any of the actors in it, I think most people do a great performance. But also, like, if you're a fan of just the horror industry, I think it's important to see this movie. Especially in the modern context, there's a lot of stuff where you can tell they got inspiration from this film. I mean, not to go too far in the direction of, like, insane movies, but there's scenes in, like, Terrifier where you can look at it and go, oh, I can see where you got inspiration from this movie. So, you know, I do think it's, like, good to watch if you haven't seen it before. I will say I don't think it's for everyone. It's really long, and it's really slow. And if it's not the movie for you, you're probably going to find it well acted, but boring.
See, that's crazy. I was not bored at all.
You weren't, because you were tense the whole time.
Yeah.
It isn't that graphic or anything, so if you're not tense, there's not a lot going on. I mean, I watched this movie when I was pretty young.
That's crazy to me.
10, maybe.
Wow.
11. I don't
Your
know.
childhood must have been wild, man.
I watched a lot of movies with my family growing up.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
movies. In either case, you want to give it a rating?
I mean, I really like this movie. I think it's really, really good. But I'm almost I'm not gonna no. I think I have to give it a 5. Not only because,
You don't have to. You can
No,
give it whatever you want.
you're so right, Ben.
You could give it a 1 if you wanted.
I don't think we've ever given a movie a 1. And I think if I were to give this movie a 1, I think
you'd just be lying.
I'd just be lying. No, I was kind of stuck between a 4.5 and a 5, but I think I've convinced myself to a 5 because, and I was thinking about this, there's so much that we haven't even talked about on this episode that you could go through and unpack more of. Like, you could go more into depth about anything we've talked about.
Yeah.
Like, way more into depth. And I'm sure there are plenty of entire papers written about this movie.
Oh, there's so much critical analysis on this film.
Yeah, this movie's deep as shit, and we have barely even begun to dig. So I think just for that, it deserves a 5. Not only because, A, like Ben said at the beginning of this, I did not have a good time at all, actually. But I really liked the movie. I think that's the sign of a great film. When the movie makes me so wildly uncomfortable that I did not have fun, but I still enjoyed myself and thought it was a good movie. So if that means anything to you, I take that. This movie deserves a 5.
Okay. I'm going to give it a 5. I think for a lot of the same reasons. There's a lot of, like, really deep analysis that can be done on this film. I've read some of it. It's all really cool. And while we didn't get into it here, I think that alone kind of elevates it in some ways. But with that being said, I mean, I think the performances are really great in it. I think it's really well shot. The score, I think, works really well with the film. But I think the big thing that really pushes it to a 5 for me is just how tight the writing is. It deals with a very, very hard, I think, story to tell.
Oh,
It
yeah.
did it really well. I mean, it's essentially a mystery where no investigation happens.
Minimal investigation.
And it's great. And that's hard. So I think it deserves a 5.
Yeah.
In either
For
case.
sure.
Outtakes? Not sure what we have.
Yeah. I don't know what's in there either. We marked quite a bit today, but
Bob didn't like the bugs.
oh god,
They're chittering.
I hate
Grossed
bugs.
him out.
I hate bugs. You know I hate bugs. Anyway, we'll see you guys in a minute. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the outtake section for this episode of Beware the Board. I hope you're enjoying our review of The Silence of the Lambs so far. I really love this movie. I think it's a phenomenal, phenomenal film. But without further ado, let's get into the outtakes. This first clip is our reaction to seeing where Hannibal Lecter is being held for the very first time. I didn't know that we had dungeons still, by the way. That's where this man's being kept. This is like a medieval fucking dungeon.
Welcome to a criminally insane psychiatry ward.
This next clip is Ben making a very rude comparison between my house and Buffalo Bill's.
Sometimes I imagine that this is what your house is like when I'm not there.
What is wrong with you?
There's Piper.
There's a dog.
Well, only one of us has a face mask.
You bought that for me.
Yeah, but I don't own it.
This next clip is my reaction to seeing the inklings of Hannibal's plan coming to action. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
How'd he grab it?
I don't know how he did it, Ben, but he has it. That's not good.
Well, depending on who you are.
I don't care. No, it's not good for anybody.
If you're Hannibal Lecter, it's probably pretty good.
But what is he going to do with it?
Pen things.
Oh, there are so many men with guns here. This next clip is our reaction to Hannibal's new cell location partway through the film.
Quid pro quo.
What the fuck is this?
It's
setup?
a fancy cell. Fancy cell.
It's a hell of a setup.
Yeah,
one
I think they're
guy.
in a criminal justice building.
Well, he's moved up from the dungeon to courthouse.
Yeah. Look, they gave him a nice fancy desk.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Nice.
It's nicer than the dungeon, I guess.
I don't know. The dungeon was classic in a very gothic side of way.
Yeah, but this is giving me 1776. This next clip is our reaction to one of the biggest reveals in the film and proves that Hannibal truly is a genius. No fucking way. I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. What is this goddamn movie? Cause no way he just actually... Oh, okay, that's gross, first of all, Mr. What's-his-fuck. Thank you, Hannibal. First of all, insane. Second of all, how did no one notice?
Did you notice?
No!
So it was the actor the whole time. They made like a life cast face and put it on him.
No, that's fucking crazy!
But it worked.
I hate this movie. This next clip is our reaction to just how far this movie will and won't go. I really thought we were going to see full cock and ball.
They wouldn't show us that.
They definitely would.
No, Bob, that'd be going too far.
Oh.
They'd be going way too far. They would never show us that.
I'm waiting on it. I'm waiting on full peen. Because it's getting so close. What the fuck? So close. So close.
I told you they'd never show us.
I know, but I was expecting it. This next clip is an old fear from the very beginning of the show finally making a return. Oh, I hate staircases. Oh my god.
The return of an old fear.
They never left. This next clip is me making the realization that Buffalo Bill is a Nazi. Is that a...
Yes.
He's a Nazi?
A little bit. Did you not see the comforter with the swastikas on it?
Oh, I did not notice that earlier. This guy just keeps getting worse.
He's not, a sane person.
Yes, but I thought Nazi was so far down the list of problems this guy had.
You can be multiple things.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the outtakes. Do we have any announcements, Ben?
Sort of. We did more
Convention.
prep
I think when this comes out, Fright Night came out on
last Saturday.
Saturday.
Wednesday
Oh, which means Blair Witch came out.
was
on
Blair
Wednesday.
Witch.
Yep.
And then Saturday is... What was after Blair Witch? I'm
What
going to
did
go
we
check.
watch? We just watched that movie. That's crazy of us to have forgotten that already.
We're not really good at the whole memory thing.
No, Goldfish Brain.
Did you know it's the snack that smiles back? Phantasm.
Oh, yeah, fantastic.
So that's coming out
Tomorrow.
essentially tomorrow. So
Yeah.
go check those out if you haven't already.
And then there's one more after that.
One more. I'm excited for that one.
I'm excited for that one, too.
We'll announce it on Phantasm.
Yeah.
Outside of that, usual spiel. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, other platforms for podcast-specific content. If you're checking out the podcast on any of those platforms, please give us a quick rating or review. That really helps us out with getting seen by other people there. You can also recommend us to a friend. We really appreciate that. It's almost mind-boggling, some might say.
Shut the fuck up. I didn't laugh the first time.
When we get like real life support like that. It's super cool. Otherwise, one of the other big places to check us out is YouTube, which, while not great for audio only content, is really nice for us because it's probably the best way for us to gauge how you guys are liking the podcast. You know, we can see likes on videos, views, stuff like that. YouTube also has a couple cool tools you might be interested in. There's a bell button, which lets you get notified whenever we post something new, which is really helpful for posting something out of our usual schedule, such as convention prep. And then there's also a search button, which lets you search keywords in all our videos. So in case you're looking for a movie to see if we've covered it, you can search the title there. Otherwise, the big thing with YouTube is it's one of the two major places to communicate with us at. You can do that in the comment section of a specific video, or you can go over to Twitter, @BewareTheBoard, and go have a nice long talk with Bob. Maybe share some dramatic facts about your childhood, and he'll help you out with some psychological analysis.
I'm not a licensed psychologist.
And maybe he'll draw you a picture of you and a lamb.
I'm also not a good artist.
It's going to look bad, but
like Ben said, check us out on Twitter @BewareTheBoard. It's where we post updates about the show, information about the show. Basically, if there's anything you want about the show, it goes on our Twitter. On Mondays, I post a spoiler post for that week's worth of episodes, which is a hidden movie cover you can reveal so you can watch the film before we do. So whenever you listen to the episodes, you don't get any spoilers or being vague about stuff, you know what we're talking about. Then on Fridays or whatever other day an episode goes live, I always post a link to the episode whenever it goes up. So if you ever missed an upload or want to know what's went up, there's always a link on our Twitter. Last thing, we make short form content for the show over on @BewareTheBoard on TikTok and on YouTube Shorts. So if you like short form content and want to support the show, check us out there @BewareTheBoard on TikTok and on YouTube Shorts. Benjamin, I think that's it.
all right, well, we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, see you guys next time.